what up? Welcome into Profit Picks. My bad. We always start the show by being transparent, and I know I didn't do a show yesterday, but the day before I did play two games, and the one I gave on the show, which was Angels team total under, it was a blow up. It was done after 3 innings, I think. So that one was disappointing. But I talked about the football game, and I should have took the Niners too. But what I ended up doing, I didn't take the under. When Christian McCaffrey got rolled out, the line plummeted to 41, and I took 41 over, and that was a winner. So it was a 1-1 day for me overall. But when I saw that line didn't move, Rob, for the San Fran side, I started to really want to just push that button, but for some reason I didn't. How's everything been for you? It's good to have you back.
Yeah, things are good, Skee. Thanks. Glad to be back. Last night, where WNBA was concerned, it was an easy night for me, 1-0. You know the way I approach things, wings over, fairly easy, especially at Liberty coming off a bad shooting day the game before against that defense. And I think there was about six or seven left in the fourth quarter when they were already over the total. So that was a good one. Night before I didn't play. I think that line probably didn't move, Skee, because it seems like people knew that Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to play already.
Yeah, well, did you hear the running back interview?
He said he knew Friday. Yeah, we got to make friends with that guy, Skee. Yeah, and I think that's probably why nothing moved. People anticipated it. Jets got.
Why let the other team know early anyway, right?
Yeah, I know the NFL has rules you have to comply with your injury list, and they'll probably pay a little bit of a price for that. But yeah, I think it was already in there. Folks anticipated it. Somebody knew. And boy, we saw it just real quick on the game. San Francisco looked really, really good for a team that had such a up and down summer. Brandon Ayuk not around. Trent Williams not around. And boy, they put it together really, really fast. They look good against a really good defense.
Yeah, they did. Nathan, good to see you in the chat. He says over 5 minutes late was minus 500. Yeah, you guys know already. Everybody in the chat is giving me hell for it. Except for Mark. Says Skee does what Skee does. I'm having my sandwich and waiting patiently.
Smart guy.
Appreciate you, Mark. He reminds everybody to hit the like button. Let's get to some actionable info, as they say on WTT. So we have 3 in the W. I know I don't have you tomorrow, so maybe we can talk a little bit of football, and then we'll rock like that. So first up, 607, 608, Aces and Fever opened up Aces minus 2.5. They're now a 4-point favorite. Total open 177.5, and it's as high as 179. For an injury report, I don't see anybody on it for either of these teams. And I'll ask you this, Rob. I know it's not too hard to talk you on to an over, but this seems like we know what we're getting from the Fever. Even Caitlin Clark, I just saw an interview or something like that where she's saying, we want to go fast. She says, is there at any point too fast? She says, no, I want to go faster. So I know they like pace. We know they can score. The Aces, I feel like they're fine playing either way, but they like to play with pace too. They've been a little inconsistent offensively, but I can't help but think this is an over game. How do you view this one?
Yeah, I can't see it any other way, Skee. You know, the odds makers have really caught up to it, and you wind up paying a significant price if you want to bet over. I would have hoped that it was in a lower price total range than where it is. But that being said, in Indiana, and to Caitlin Clark's statement that you just gave, her teammates are coming along with her now the last 10 games or so, because in the beginning, I feel like she was going fast, but it's one of those deals where those players were not used to anticipating the passes. Forget about the way she shoots the basketball. The passing on the break and in the open floor is amazing. She gets that team a ton of easy shots. And now that they're all in sync, it's really hard, Skee, to keep them under, I would say, 85, 86 points. It's difficult to stop the Fever from scoring that. But the other side of the coin, just like Dallas, except that Indiana's a better team than Dallas is, they still play zero defense. And the Aces have looked a little bit better on the offensive end in recent games. They did play without Asia Wilson last game against New York. She will be back for this game. I don't see her on the injury report as of last night or today. So Asia Wilson could have a big game in the middle here. And they're not afraid to run as well. So I think you probably get an up and down game here. You know, Indiana, for what it's worth, they just continue to cash these over tickets. And my general rule with them, Skee, is until it starts getting to 180 as an opener, then you probably go ahead and take Indiana overs, especially at home where they're a little bit higher scoring. So that's the only way I'd look. Game's been bumped from 77.5 only to 179 simply because odds makers are creating a higher baseline at this point for totals.
So not high enough for you there, Mr. Veno. Um, yeah, I can't help but think that's the way to go. But I do like Asia too. I see Justin's going to Asia over 27.5 points. I do believe she'll play. She's still climbing up the record for the scoring leaders, and it's some record she has to break where she has to score a certain amount of points in the next 5 games. So I think that's a good look. I can only expect points, and I think she's hit that both times she played the Fever too. So either her points or the over would be preferred ways to play this game. I mean, I didn't look at Caitlin Clark, but I'm pretty sure her props continue to smash. But I think this is an Asia day. ATMG, he says, he sent you DM for last show. Shirt winner, no rush, no, you're busy, man. I didn't see it. So my bad. I didn't see it. If you could maybe just hit me again. Yeah, my bad. I didn't see it. All right, let's get to the next game. That is 609, 610, Washington and Chicago. I know why I didn't see it now. I'm thinking about it. It's been interesting few days or interesting bunch of days. Washington and Chicago. Chicago -3.5 was the opener down to -1. Total hasn't really moved. It looks like 161. The Shields out for Chicago. We know that they no longer have Angel Reese, and Austin will be out for Washington. So Vino, this is where I kick it over to you first because I know exactly what you want to do with Washington. Can you get the Chicago Sky to cooperate? And I'm staying out the way because Shakira Austin is out in this game.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, the bigger news is on the Sky side, right? Once they lost Angel Reese for the year, it just becomes a team that had a lot of interior size. Skee is now just dependent upon Cardozo. And they got away with it on Sunday or Saturday, whenever it was against Dallas. They outscored them. I'm not a fan of the Chicago defense to begin with, and I don't think I would be a fan of them here. And as I've told you before, when we went through this little thing, I do listen. It takes me a little while to listen, but without Austin in the lineup, Washington's back to what they were doing when I was cashing over tickets, shooting threes, scoring points. I see this one as kind of a wide open affair. Chicago doesn't have the low post play anymore. And I think when you take some of that offensive rebounding out of the Chicago offense that leads to points, you wind up with more of a transition team than you do a half court team. And you wind up with Washington able to key their break as well a little bit. So the Mystics, for what it's worth, are still the second best 3-point shooting team in the league. And they seem to score a little bit more, play higher scoring games when Austin is not available. But I will say I kind of like the Mystics in this game as well. I said a little bit earlier that Chicago got away with it against Dallas. I don't know that they get away with the personnel absences here against Washington. Washington's still playing hard every single night. And even though the Sky have as well, and the Sky still are in playoff contention, the loss of Reese is just huge in my estimation. And, it was one thing when Elizabeth Williams went down and they still had Cardosa and Reese, but now without two of the bigs in the middle, it's difficult for the Sky. So I think I would lean two ways here. I would lean Mystics. The money has gone that way. And I think I would lean over as my preferred play and the Mystics as the secondary play.
I'm looking at this. I don't think Washington has been eliminated from the playoffs yet. And this would be a big game towards trying to get over the Sky there. They still, they're one game behind the Dream. I wish this would show me better. One game behind the Dream. Looks like maybe 2 games, maybe 2 or 3 behind the Sky. So this is a game that can make up some ground for them. And like you said, they're still playing hard. People liking the Sky in the chat. I'm not sure that I can get there. Let me screen share. You guys know what to do if you like the Mystics for one. And you can see this, right, Rob?
Yep.
So this is Mystics. Let's take it off just for a second. The full season. Mystics against the spread in the first half. 24-9-2. They've been good all game long too, all season. 23-11-1. But that first half is, I keep saying it every single year. I don't know why I just don't bet that and leave everything else alone. And look, 13-3-1 as a road dog. It's just consistent as can be. Let's see how it's been since All-Star break. 7-3. First half and full game, actually, since All-Star break. And look at the Sky. Slow starters in all these games. They come back and are able to, play hard and win and try to keep their playoff spot. But slow starters, 3-8. So I think if you like the Mystics here, you get in and get out with the first half. You agree, Rob?
Well, those numbers don't lie, right? If you're playing trends that have a substantial number of instances like those do, then it's hard to buck that whatsoever. The Mystics first half, I know you've said it before on this show quite a bit. I can't see any reason to disagree with that. So if you're looking for a way to play, that probably, according to the numbers, would be the safest way to play. Go ahead and play Mystics first half.
All right. So that's the way I'm thinking about in that game. And take a look at some comments real quick before we move it on over. I know Casey says she likes the Sky. She says Cardoso, way more efficient player, so offense should be good. Hollywood, second game back from the hospital. Yeah, both in the playoff hunt. The Mystics are not eliminated yet. Definitely not. Casey says she's liking the over. Let's see what Mark says, right, Skee? But if they lose, it has big draft implications. Why it's tricky. I can understand that. B Daddy's agreeing with Casey a little bit. He likes Cardoso over 10.5 rebounds. I can't talk you off of that. I think she just surpassed that versus the Wings, pretty sure. And Mark is in agreement with that first half play. So let's keep it going on over to the last game. That is 6-11, 6-12 Storm at Sparks. And this one opened Seattle -10. They're now 13-point favorite. Total open 164.5. And it's down. Consensus, I guess, is 162.5. I see a 163. I see a 162. So we'll go at 163.5. Injury report, same usual suspects for the Sparks. Clarendon, Ari McDonald, Lexi Brown, all out. And I don't see anybody on the injury report for the Storm. Sparks did just play yesterday. I really have no interest in backing them. I know they've been good as double-digit dogs all season, but they didn't cover last night, I don't believe. And I can see Seattle smacking them again here. Seattle is a really good defensive team. First thing that comes to mind is Sparks team total under. But I can see the Sparks naming their number. That's why I'm scared of the full game over. So how are you viewing it here, Rob? Do you think Seattle runs it up on them, or Do they just lock Los Angeles down?
Well, there's a lot of reasons to think, Skee, especially the situational that you pointed out, with the Sparks playing back to back. The Sparks are out of the playoffs, so there's really no reason to play here. I know we've got question marks next to McDonald and Clarendon tonight, but who knows? LA's played without their guards for so much of the season. It's interesting that the two, because my first attraction was to the under, believe it or not, in this game, because the Sparks just haven't scored as of late. And they're so up and down. The last time I was on, they were playing Indiana. And I talked about the Sparks being like a seesaw team, score points a game and then don't score them for a couple of games. But that game against Indiana, I just felt like the defense for Indiana was poor enough to allow the Sparks to score. And it was. Seattle's not that team, right? Seattle, like you just said, a little bit of lockdown defense. Certainly stuff to play for here on their end. I just hate laying 12.5 with Seattle because they can't shoot the basketball real well, especially from 3-point range. They're last in the league still. But I think I could still get to the under here. The problem I had, and the only thing that gave me some concern with under, is the fact that these teams have played twice and both games went over, and LA's been without the same people, the same players, almost each time. So they go 89-83, they hit 172, and then they go 95-79, they hit 174, well above the asking price tonight. But I just feel like Seattle may keep them quiet here, and it's not beyond Seattle to win a game with 77, 78 points. If that's the case here, then it stays under. Even if Seattle makes it to 80, which they very well could, it's a bad defense on LA's side. We'll see. I mean, I lean under. Probably a long way to get to. I lean under.
You know, the more I think about this game, the more I want to leave it alone. So I think I won't waste any more time. The first two games, I'm liking. This game, not so much. Mark mentions having some success live betting. Yeah, it's always good. And I'm gonna tell you, during NBA, I'm gonna get back to doing some live betting things. And pretty sure might try out that might try out that playback thing, because it'll allow me to watch the game with you guys on the screen. Like the people who have League Pass, they can watch it, and the people who don't, I'm able to let 20 people, I think it is, watch the game with me, and we can all, live bet the game, and we're on the same speed and all that stuff, and it just seems like a good idea. So NBA season, we'll be doing a lot of live betting. Mark, Veno, you're always welcome to come on whenever you have time or you like. Now, let's get to a little bit of football. Um, I'll just put this up here like this. We'll talk about whatever we talk about. But I do know Thursday night football, the Bills and the Dolphins. Opened up Dolphins -2, 2.5 point favorites. Total has gone down 1.5 points to 49. I did see Mostert is expected to be out for this game, and A-Chain, saw he was questionable, but there was a video of him practicing out there, so he might be all right. Miami, what do you think about? Let me ask you this. I'll start by asking a question here, Rob. Do you think maybe they're a little bit distracted to start that last game with the stuff that happened before with Tyreek? Because they look like a little bit of a different team for the second half.
It's possible, Skee, but in watching that game, Tyreek didn't look real distracted. Caught a couple balls. He was, my good friend Tua overthrew him on a sure touchdown at one point and then overthrew him again. So he looked like he was okay. Calais Campbell, another guy who was involved in that particular incident, not so sure. And the team overall, I'm not so sure. But, Tua's numbers, 338 passing yards, look pretty good. And if he had completed the easy stuff, he probably would have been over 400 in that game. So if you're looking to back Miami here, which I am, you hope that Tua has shaken off some rust, and you hope that the speed that they have shows up and is effective here, because they can be as fast as they want, but if he's going to overthrow guys, you don't get those quick strike touchdowns. In that particular game, I needed over. It was a frustrating way to lose a game that closed at 49. Jacksonville actually, ATN fumbled going into the end zone for another touchdown. So there was a lot of missed opportunity in that game. Here you got divisional, big implications for both sides. Buffalo looked pretty good offensively, right? Josh Allen looked good again, and Buffalo did their job against Arizona's defense. We'll see if they can do it here against Miami. But I think the Dolphins at home in this instance at less than a field goal is probably the way I'm looking. Haven't bet it yet. It's the way I'm looking. As far as total is concerned.
Wait, really quick, let me ask you a question here,
Go ahead.
Rob. A couple of people in the chat mentioning, or at least Jeff, he's saying Dolphins have a terrible record versus the Bills, and the Dolphins do not beat good teams. Mark is agreeing the Bills have owned Miami. I think it's pretty interesting that for as much as the Bills beat on them, the Dolphins are the favorite. Does that stand out to you at all?
Well, I try to treat every single season where there's personnel changes a little bit differently. Now, the constant here for the last couple of years is head coaching, right? Sean McDermott is the guy who's been beating up on Miami quite a bit. So I certainly can put some credence into that. I think getting Buffalo down here in the warmer weather and the second week of the season probably is helpful. We'll see too. Like I'd like to know, Skee. It would be interesting to see if Buffalo and Miami have ever played on such short rest. 3 days and back to the grind. I feel like it favors the home team. They don't have the travel on the 3-day work week, so maybe Miami gets the benefit of that. And we'll see. It could also be, if we're just looking at situations, it could be that Miami's been distracted. Everybody's still talking about the Tyreek Hill thing. It's becoming far more of a social issue than a football issue. And as long as interviewers are going to continue to question the team, it's a distraction. As long as Mike McDaniel's going to continue to talk about it, it maybe is a distraction. Or it could be a bonding effect with the team. You never know. We're not inside the locker room, so we never know how these are going to pan out. 2020 hindsight is always the winning factor. But if I'm just looking at it on paper, I think Miami's got some advantages here, and I don't think they played their best game against Jacksonville. And I would say Jacksonville, just from my standpoint, is a far better defensive team than Buffalo is. And well, maybe not far, but I would say they're a better defensive team than Buffalo is. And what Miami did to them as far as total yardage is concerned, I think they could probably duplicate here.
I do think Buffalo will be able to score. I think they'll be able to put up some points. But I do think Miami's defense is a lot better than both those defenses we saw in the Bills and the Cardinals in that game. Cardinals, got to remember, their defense is that was my best bet for week 1. That game over the total 48. Cardinals defense is still really young. I still believe it's going to take some time for those guys to gel. And just for the Bills for this game, I mean, I still think it's going to take some time for those guys. They lost their entire starting secondary. It's not going to just start to be good after one game. So I think that the Dolphins can play a lot better offensively. They said that Tua was going off on everybody in the locker room at the halftime, and they got their offense together a little bit too. I think the Dolphins' offense can go off, and I think if they have a lack of running backs, they're probably going to throw the ball more than run, and I think that's a good way to attack the Bills anyway. So maybe the total's going down because of injuries or something like that, but I'm one to think that this total should still be getting over the 48.5. So over 48.5 is probably a good bet right now for me, and I'm unsure what to do with that side. I'm low on the Bills this year, but I feel like nobody wants the Bills in this game, and everybody's ridden them off. And I'm not that high on Tua. For as much as I'm down on the Bills, I'm not a Tua guy. So I think I'll think about that a little bit more till we come back and talk about it tomorrow. I have a few games that stand out to me here, Rob. I know I made a move, but still leaning a bunch of different ways. I need some help trying to stand up straight.
Sure. Let's stand up straight.
So the Colts and Green Bay. Um, Jordan Love goes down. They look really good. I mean, the team looked really good still. They were expected to be really good, but now that throws a wrench in everything. What can we expect from Green Bay? Um, the look ahead line, I want to say, what was it, -5 for Green Bay? And now the Colts are -3. I mean, is Jordan Love worth 8 points? That's the first thing that comes to my mind right there. And then I start to think about it, and there's some advantages here for the Colts. I don't think Green Bay is a good run defense, and the Colts have a very strong offensive line. Um, Jonathan Taylor, he'll be good. Richardson, he looked pretty good too, and he can run too. So I really think that the Colts can score, and it's just a matter of can Green Bay do their part to help this total. The total did open, or at least the look ahead. One of them opened 47 is what I see on the screen, and it's down to 41. I'm starting to think it maybe it dropped a little bit too much. Um, team total wise, Colts are 21 and a half. 21 and a half, and the full game total is 41. Colts team total seems too good to be true for me, Rob. How do you feel about this game?
Well, a couple ways, Ski. And first, let me just travel back to where the Thursday night football game total is concerned. I think people mechanically, Ski, play the Thursday night game under. There was a huge trend dealing with that for years. I don't remember how it closed last season,
Yeah,
but
prime time unders, right?
yeah, and Thursday night especially because coaches complain about the short work week and everything else. So that's probably why a little bit of that has come down. Where Green Bay's concerned, listen, it's Malik Willis. He's been in camp 2-3 weeks. You're going to ask him to run this offense now. So I would think that the offense gets simplified. I would think that Green Bay wants to run the football more than throw the football with Malik Willis. And it kind of plays into the Colts' hands because the Colts are a weak secondary, but they're a decent run defense. And they can apply some pressure on the defensive side too. So I think that Green Bay probably can't take advantage of the Colts' weakness on defense the way they would have been able to with Jordan Love. That would be the first favor in favor of the Colts. I'd give them the check mark there. I totally agree with everything you said about their offense. Listen, Green Bay played the same. The Eagles are better with their receiving core than the Colts. The Colts have a good receiving core, but obviously the Eagles is better. But Philadelphia threw for 278. Jalen Hurts did, and then they ran for another 144. The Colts, like you said, I think will be able to run against this team. And the reason why I bring up the Eagles game is simply because Anthony Richardson is a threat to run as Jalen Hurts is. And you add that to the running game, and I think it's a little helpful. Anthony Richardson, another guy, and my top play on Sunday was the Houston-Indy game over, which did get there 29-27, but it wasn't without pulling some hair out of my head because Anthony Richardson missed open receivers for 6 twice. He made some phenomenal throws that got them points. He made some poor throws that cost them points. So you're going to have to give a little, take a little with him. But he does bring the running dimension to this, which makes it tougher on Green Bay. I don't know. 8-point switch is a lot, Skee, right? In line movement. But I'd almost say that in this very first game, it's probably right on the mark. I don't know what you can expect out of Malik Willis. I really don't. As opposed to what you could have expected out of Jordan Love. Indy's a team I was fairly high on coming into the season. I agree with you. Their trench play on the offensive line is fantastic, top 5. They're really balanced as an offensive unit, and they've got a great play caller, right? Shane Steichen, former Eagles OC, is the head coach there, and he had Jalen Hurts first, and now he's got Anthony Richardson to work with. So I don't want to really lay 3. I wouldn't have been in that camp if that was the opener. But now, the more I look at the game, I think it probably goes Indianapolis's way. Maybe money line is a little bit better. Maybe paying the price to buy back the 2.5 is a little bit better if you're concerned about the field goal. But I can't look any other way than Indy in this game.
All right, so we're in agreement on that. I'm just gonna shoot some stuff at you. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's go.
Arizona and LA Rams. This one opened up Rams -2, flips to Arizona -1. Total is going up from 48 to 49. I mean, Arizona, I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like Arizona should be the favorite. I know the Rams lost Nakua, but Matt Stafford is still such a damn good quarterback that I trust. I mean, he looked good in that last game when Nakua was out to come back or, playing versus the Lions. So I trust him. I think the Rams still have enough talent. Like I just talked about, the Arizona defense can still be had, in my opinion. I would be leaning more towards the Rams. And if I had to, maybe just, see if I can find a 1.5 and tease it with somebody else. But I also think the over is worth the look. The Rams, 30, I mean, how do I say this? The Rams are the cheapest defense in 2024 and the most expensive offense. So they'll be able to score. The defense will be lacking. Cardinals defense is not to be trusted, like I just mentioned. This one has to be an over and lean Rams. Do you agree?
Well, I would agree with the over part of it. If I had to agree with either, I do think Arizona is probably the right way. It's a divisional game. It's an important game. And the Rams, besides Nakua, they have two definite outs on the offensive line, two more on the injured list. So 4 starters altogether on the injured list here, which just isn't a real good thing for the Rams. And we saw in that game, Matt Stafford in the second half, once he lost the entire right side of his line, he performed well. Give him credit. And Cooper Kupp got open. He did what Cooper Kupp does. But the Lions pass rush was coming after him consistently. You could see it was a problem on that side. I know they have a week to try and fix some things, but I don't know how fixable it is. And if I'm Arizona, honestly, Jonathan Gannon is a defensive mind by nature. You just load it up to stop the run and then turn them loose against the pass. And they're not a good defense overall, as you mentioned, but they might be good enough here against a really banged up offensive line in a game that, it's not non-conference traveling all the way to Buffalo. It's in conference on your home field. You have to have this one, or in division, excuse me. So I think I lean Arizona in this case. They're more than capable of scoring points. Marvin Harrison Jr. caught 1 pass for 4 yards in that game. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
Dortch was taking the catches.
Yeah, they've got weapons. There's no question. And Kyler is a tough quarterback. The Rams just played Jared Goff, who sits in the pocket. Kyler Murray takes off out of the pocket. So I think it's going to be a tougher test for the Rams. I don't know what the team totals are individually in that game, but Arizona's team total might be worth a look as well, especially if you think the game's going to go over. I think Arizona's more than capable of putting up points here. Detroit kind of shot themselves in the foot. It was an interesting game, Skee, tell you the truth. I thought the Detroit offense would be better than it was. I don't know if we attribute that to no starters playing in the preseason, or do we attribute that to the Rams defense being a little better than most of us thought? I'd probably lean towards Detroit having to shake off some rust. So I think Arizona, I haven't played it yet. And if I'm going to play over, I'll probably play the Cardinals team total over.
Well, thinking about it now, the Cardinals should be able to run on the Rams, right? That defensive line looked like um they miss Aaron Donald. That's what they look like.
Yeah.
James Conner, I think he'll have some success in this game. So you looking towards the Rams? I mean, looking towards the Cardinals. Maybe I'll stay off the side in this one and just expect some points. My Steelers got the job done in Week 1, Rob.
They did. 6 field goals worked.
And my best bet, most people didn't agree with preseason, was Steelers over 8 wins. Off to a good start. They're favorite now versus a Denver team. Really good defense versus a rookie quarterback. I know Denver's at home, but I think Pittsburgh can still get the job done once again. How you feeling about that one?
I agree with you. And let's just call it what it is. I mean, Sean Payton, the head coach of the Broncos, is a con man at best, trying to tell us that things are good in Denver and Bo Nix is a franchise quarterback. And we all watched Bo Nix in college. We watched him when he was in the SEC. Not good. And we saw it again against Seattle last week. Bo Nix was horrendous. The offense was as bad as it was last year. And if not for a couple of safeties, they had a couple of safeties and they got cheap points. The Broncos did a cheap touchdown at the end of the game. And you can almost take 10 points off of their scoreboard and call them illegitimate points. So I don't know what you're against this defense. This defense is better than the Seahawks.
TJ Watt gonna give them hell, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just draft them first round, 12 overall. Tell everybody you've got a franchise. We know they didn't. They don't. They're no better today than they were last year. And I don't see why Pittsburgh couldn't go into this venue. And even if they kick 6 field goals again, why they wouldn't win the game with that. Justin Fields is nothing to, want to rush up and put your money on. But like we're talking here, the matchup to me really is Steeler defense against Bronco offense. And I could see a couple of maybe, blindside hits that make the quarterback fumble or something for turnovers forced by the Steelers here. And then Fields being just good enough to get them through against the Denver defense. So, yeah, I definitely lean Pittsburgh in that game.
All right, I like to hear that. 2 more games if you got time, Rob.
Yeah.
All right.
Do it.
Texans and Bears. I don't know if you know this, Rob, but I have 2 current favorite players in the NFL that are active. I mean, my number 1 favorite player of all time is LT. Nobody's ever going to pass him up. But I have 2 current favorite players, and they're both quarterbacks. Number 1, I'm pretty sure you know who that is. Number 2 is CJ Stroud. And some people disagree with me. But I'm just a big believer. Now we have a rookie quarterback on the other side who didn't have a touchdown in week 1. He's still on the road. He still has to face a pretty good defense. I can't help but think that, I would really like to be underneath the 6th, but I can't help but think that Texans can cover this game. And maybe Texans more so just to score against Chicago. Maybe unless you have pushback with Chicago's defense, I just trust Houston to score. So whether it's Houston against the spread or Houston team total over, those are ways that I was thinking.
Well, I think the same way. Skee. Chicago's win was as fraudulent as any win in week 1, right? 10 drives, 148 total yards, 14.8 yards per drive. Terrible. And they're thankful that Will Levis was on the other side, right? I mean, Will Levis for Tennessee, basically, Chicago gets the game gift wrapped to them. Tennessee had that game the whole way, and poor mistakes that didn't involve offense doing anything to help out got the Bears the win. Now, as you mentioned, it's CJ Stroud. It's Stephon Diggs and company at wide receiver. It's their running game. It's their defense. That team, on both sides of the ball, personnel-wise, they're pretty good. Indianapolis, like I said, I had that game over last week against Houston, thinking that they both could score. Indianapolis obviously brings things to the table that the Bears don't. And they wound up at home getting some points against the Texans, including a late touchdown to cover the game. I think they were plus 2.5. They lose by 2. So for Houston, it's a step down in class. For Chicago, it's a step up in class. And there's not a lot of people that talk about maybe a Houston-Kansas City AFC championship game, but that's as possible as anything right now. D'Amico Ryans has done a great job with that team defensively. I can't play the Bears here, Skee. Houston was the first game I checked off this week as a potential play. I still like them. You don't stop that offense. I know the Bears have a pretty good defense, but you just don't stop that offense. They're too balanced. They've got too many weapons, and the quarterback's too good. And his protection is pretty good. So I'm with you. I'm on Houston. The Bears got 24 last week somehow, some way. I don't know that they get to 13 this week.
All right, so I like to hear that. We kind of lining up this week. All right, last one that I really wanted to mention that stood out to me, and I was thinking about is Buccaneers and Lions. This one opened up Lions -6.5. They're 7-point favorites, and the total has gone up from 48.5 to 51.5. The Lions, they look really good. Um, I'm not a big believer in their defense, probably as much as others, but I do think that their offense is pretty efficient. Tampa Bay, I want to say they had some people banged up in the secondary, so maybe that will even help the Lions out even more. I do think the Lions can score, but that doesn't mean I don't think Tampa Bay can score either. Like I think more so, I'm thinking this might be too many points. I mean, Baker has looked good. Mike Evans is a monster. Tampa Bay is going to be able to do their part to put up points in this game. I just don't think it's any way around that. So Tampa team total over um, is on my mind. Let's see the number. Another 21.5 and Tampa Bay +7. I just think that they can compete. Let's see if you agree with me on this one.
Well, I originally liked the full game total Ski, but they've crossed some numbers now, right? When you get to 51.5, starting at 48.5, you get, now you're all the way up to, you have to get to 52, which is a 31-21. It's a 28-24. It's something in that vicinity. Not to say that they can't get there. I think they can. Can we go back to when you and I were on Kyle's show and we had to talk about Tampa? At the time when we were on that show and I analyzed Tampa, I thought that Tampa Bay offensively would be improved this year, and they showed that in game one. So I'm in full agreement with you that they should be able to move. If you can keep Aiden Hutchinson off your quarterback, you're going to move the ball against that team. I don't think there's any question. But if I look at the other side and know that Amon-Ra St. Brown did nothing in that Rams game, and Detroit still got out of there with the amount of points that they did in a victory. Jameson Williams became the big hero, right? The run game, as you mentioned earlier, was a big deal. Montgomery at the end kind of sewed it up, and Jahmyr Gibbs was fantastic. They just have so many ways to get after you. And again, I mentioned step up in class, step down in class the game before. It's kind of the same thing here, tell you the truth, especially where Tampa's concerned. This is a major step up in class from what they faced in week one against the Commanders with a rookie quarterback whose first idea was get the ball snapped to me and run for my life. So that's not the way Jared Goff plays the game and not the way Detroit plays the game. I think definitely the only thing that scared me off again, one more time, is I got to get myself to be able to get over that 51.5, over that key number of 51. At 50.5, it's a great overplay, I think, because so many opportunities to land on 50. But I still think I like the over in that game. I still do.
Fair. And I know I said that's the last one, but I do want to mention one more, and that is Las Vegas and Baltimore. Baltimore did just, I mean, both of these teams, I think, lost last week. Yeah, both of them did lose last week. And now Baltimore, close to a double digit favorite here. They usually are a team that beats up on the poor. Do they take out their frustrations here on Las Vegas? Do they do it offensively? Or is it more of a, you know, lock them down? Maybe we see that historic defense again in this game. I'm thinking it might be the latter. How do you view it?
Yeah, I always view Baltimore in the same way, Ski. When I think they can get ahead to start the game and front run, I like them. When I think that team has a chance to be behind, like against Kansas City in week one, then I don't like their chances. And they should get on the board first here against the Raiders. The Raiders showed us very little against the Chargers team that's under a new coaching staff. The Chargers offense definitely, personnel-wise, looks a ton different this year than it has the last couple of years. And yet the Chargers were able to shut the Raider offense down on defense and do enough on the offensive side. If Baltimore gets out here 7-0, 10-0, it's probably a wrap on the Raiders. The quarterback situation for Las Vegas is not good. Um, and I think we saw that the defense, it was okay against the Chargers, but I don't think it'll be okay here. So I like Baltimore. I think you got to stay under that 10 though. And for teaser players, 9.5. If you're playing 7-point teasers, at least you can still bring it under the key number of 3. But I can't see any way to look other than the Ravens here. 41.5, a different story. Not sure what the Raiders can bring to the table, to tell you the truth, Skee, unless it's by virtue of, big play or defensive score. I'm not sure they can drive the field against the Ravens and score points.
All right, so we're in agreement on that game 100%. I really think they're going to struggle to score. I think that Baltimore will get the job done. Razor in the chat says, shout out to everyone. What's up, fellas? Rob, Delaware Park has Owners Day this Saturday. Some nice races. He's asking if you're going to be there. So he's here now, and there's tons of tents up.
Big day at Delaware Park, but it's a college football Saturday, so it's almost impossible to get there.
Yeah, I feel you on that. But Razor, he loves his ponies. He'll be over there. Mark says recency bias against Baltimore. He's on Baltimore. All right. I think we did some pretty good stuff here. We talked about a lot of games, and we'll be able to come back on Friday and maybe come back with some of them that we bet. So
we'll stand up straight on Friday.
Yeah, stand up straight on Friday, but we talk them out here today. Now I think we should move over to best bets, but before I do that best bets, let me see. I feel like every time I take a day off, it's like I'm lost all over again. I got to get back into doing this consistently again. But let's get this on the screen there. I know I did use it at one point just to show you guys some stuff. It's the site where it's like all in one handicapping, all the trends, all the numbers. And this is our guy Ronald Cabane's site. So if you saw me using it, if you were interested, there's a link in the description to the video. You just use coupon code Skee and the link, and it'll get you 50% off your first month. And you can see how well you like it. You can see how much it helps you cap the games, faster and better. So I'll say that. And then next, let's put this up here for both Rob and myself. We both do work at Wagertalk.com. The link to both of our profiles are in the description to this video. And if you would like to get in early with us, you guys know we're NBA cappers. We do it all day long. $5.95, so it's $2 off for the full regular season price. And I believe this is available until the 15th. So you can take advantage. I mean, I think it's a good way to get involved. It's less than $100 per month for the entire season. And NBA, I know the last 3 years, every year for me, really, except for COVID, has been pretty good. And I know Rob mentioned last time too. If you're interested in getting both of us, I'm sure if you reach out, they'll be able to put something together for you. So, Rob, is there anything that I missed or anything else that you would like to promote?
No, I think you got it covered, Skee. Again, I think Wager Talk would be more than happy to put us both together if that's what you prefer. Get you special on that price as well. The individual packages are still, as Skee mentioned, a really good price. But I'll get right to best bets here, and I'll go back to the WNBA real quick and just say that I'm going to go with this Las Vegas, Indiana over the total. Again, I said that until they get to 180 as a baseline, I'm just going to blindly play Indiana up and over in their games. Not a lot of defense, a team that can definitely get to 90 against them. They seem to get to, like I say, 86 against anybody, probably get up and over 90 here tonight at home. So prices, I'm looking at the best you can get is 178.5. I definitely shop because there's 179.5s out there, but I think over 178.5, Las Vegas, Indiana, probably the best way to roll tonight.
And I can't talk you off of that. I'll stay in the same game, give you guys a little bit of same game action if you would like. We'll go with Asia Wilson over the 27.5 points. I do like that she's chasing. I know she's chasing a little bit for Joel Lloyd's single season record, but the first person to record 1,000 points in the season, she's chasing that. She got a few games left to do it. So it's going to be a game where a lot of points are available. I think she will take advantage. Over 27.5 points for Asia Wilson will be my best bet for the show. And appreciate you guys in the chat for rocking with us. Like I always say, a lot of great cappers, a lot of great people, and I appreciate you guys. I really enjoy doing the show. Vino's cutting out, but if you can hear me, Vino, I do appreciate you taking the time to come and cap the show and cap these games with me as well. So until next time, best of luck on all your action. Good luck if you tell. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.